Chapter 52:14. The Eldritch Universe ushered in a new era. Countless continent fragments, which were scattered all over the universe, were all converging in one direction. In less than a year's time, all the continents would reunite. The Eldritch Universe of the previous era would reappear in the world. At this moment, the living beings of the Outerverse were retreating rapidly from the Eldritch Universe. The living beings of the Underworld were retreating the fastest. Those with true immortals who descended retreated from the Eldritch Universe under their lead. The living beings that didn't have true immortals descending were also rushing towards the universe channel. They already knew that a new immortal Tao elite was born in the Eldritch Universe. If they didn't leave now, they might never be able to leave. The living beings of the Yang realm were also retreating. Almost all the Yang realm's great universes had true immortals passing down orders for them to retreat. Some great universes even had immortal Tao elites descend and take away the living beings of the great universes. Sixth great uncle, why are we retreating? What? My fragment of the heart of the universe flew away. I asked sixth great uncle to help me get it back. In the Jade Clear Great Universe, an immortal Tao elite led Shan Xiong Shaning and the rest towards the universe passage. However, Shaning was extremely unwilling and kept pleading with the immortal Tao elite. Don't think about the fragment of the heart of the universe. The Eldritch Universe's heart of the universe has already fused. Someone has used the heart of the universe to attain Tao and become an immortal. It can't be taken away. The immortal Tao elite from the Jade Clear Great Universe shook his head. So what if he has become an immortal? Our Jade Clear Great Universe is filled with immortals. Why should we be afraid of a guy who has just become an immortal? Let's just kill him and take away the complete heart of the universe. Shaning said with reddened eyes. He had a complete mental breakdown. The fragment of the heart of the universe had already fallen into his hands. It was the foundation of his Tao. Now that it had flown away, he was on the verge of hysteria. This is the order of the Eldritch clan. Wake up. Can't you attain Tao without the fragment of the heart of the universe? The immortal Tao elite from the Jade Clear Great Universe scolded. What? The Eldritch clan? Shan Ying's expression changed drastically as he shuddered. Even if he had 10,000 guts, he would not dare to disobey the order of the Firmament clan. Sixth great uncle, the Elysian clan has never interfered with the conflicts between the Yang realm and the other great cosmoses. They would only intervene when there is a war with the underworld. Why would they suddenly intervene this time? Shan Xiong asked. He was much calmer than Shan Ying. I don't know either. The immortal Tao being from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos shook his head. He couldn't understand why the Firmament race would suddenly intervene. However, according to the Lord of the Firmament clan, he won't give the primitive universe any preferential treatment. Therefore, if you meet people from the primitive universe on the battlefield or in the Sun Court, just do what you should do. Don't worry. The immortal Tao being from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos changed its tone. Understood, sixth granduncle. Shan Xiong's eyes flashed with killing intent. Jade Clear Great Cosmos, Holy Light Great Cosmos. Everyone's multiverses were retreating, and as time passed, the number of outerverse lifeforms in the vaster universe dwindled. On this day, another group of people appeared at the universe passage. This was a being from the primordial demon Great Cosmos. The primordial demon Great Cosmos was ranked 12th among the great cosmoses of the Yang realm. It was also a top-notch great cosmos. One could see some special figures standing in the primordial demon Great Cosmos. Zixien. It was actually Zixien of the demon race. Ever since Zixien had merged with the demon ancestor blood crystal, her strength had soared and she had become the leader of the demon race. Beside Zixien were a few demon race experts. They all stood respectfully behind the immortal Tao being from the primordial demon Great Cosmos. That's right. Zixien had led the demon race to the primordial demon Great Cosmos and was preparing to leave the primitive universe with the primordial demon Great Cosmos. As for the other demons, they had already been stored in their spatial treasures. We have to leave in the end. Lu Ming, let's meet again if fate wills it. Zixien sighed softly. After all, the demon race didn't belong to the primitive universe. If they stayed in the primitive universe, the life forms of the primitive universe wouldn't welcome them. It would also be detrimental to their own development. Even if their status was low, joining the primordial demon Great Cosmos was better than staying in the primitive universe. Let's go. An immortal Tao being from the primordial demon Great Cosmos waved his hand and led everyone into the universe passage. A month passed by in a flash. At this moment, almost all the life forms of the outerverse had retreated. The vast primitive universe had once again become empty. The number of continent fragments that had merged also increased. It turned out that a huge continent had appeared where the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm was. This was formed by the merging of countless continent fragments. Of course, this was far from the end. Some of the continent fragments that were too far away had yet to reach them. However, it had already begun to take shape. This continent could already be called the primitive universe. 5 months later, half a year had passed since the great battle in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. The continent fragment that Lu Ming and the rest were in had finally merged with the primitive universe. What a vast land. It needs rich energy. Lu Ming and the rest flew high into the sky and looked around. They couldn't see the end of it. It was too vast. The primitive universe was already 80% the size of the primitive universe of the previous era. The primitive chi was extremely rich and much stronger than the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. Due to the collision of the continent fragments, huge mountain ranges had appeared on the continent. They were full of vitality and flourishing plants. There were even divine medicines. If this continued, many top divine medicines would soon be born. The people of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm and the Primitive Universe Alliance had spread out and flew across the vast continent. At the easternmost part of the continent, planets had merged with the primitive universe. These planets were all life forms of the universe in the past. Although there had been endless wars over the years and many races in the universe had gone extinct, there were still many races that survived. Now these races were extremely excited. They flew across the vast continent, looking for a place to establish their race. Now, there were too few life forms on the primitive universe. It was not enough to describe it as a sparsely populated place. There were various cultivation holy lands that could be chosen at will. The native life forms of the primitive universe slowly spread out and took root on the primitive universe. At this time, Tang Feng's figure reappeared in the sky. The primitive universe was already 80% complete. There was no need for him to do the rest. The remaining continent fragments would slowly fly over and merge on their own. It's time to completely deal with the demi-humans. Who wants to come with me? Tang Feng's voice sounded. Demi-humans. Heavenly Palace. Destroy. Immediately, many people flew towards Tang Feng. Yue, let's go together. Lu Ming looked at Ling Yue. The elf race had been destroyed by the Heavenly Palace. Ling Yue had always wanted to flatten the Heavenly Palace. Now the time had come. Chapter 52:15. Ling Yue nodded and flew toward Tang Feng with Lu Ming. Xian Yinqing, Qiu Moon and the others were also with them. Not only them but also Tang Xiao, the first heavenly sword, and the others. A large number of figures flew toward Tang Feng. Most of the people in the Great Desolate Alliance had great enmity with the Heavenly Palace. Not only that, but many people in the Azure Divine Realm also moved. In the last era, the demi-humans were just slaves of the human race. However, in the battle half a year ago, the Heavenly Palace sent out 4 sub-immortals to deal with the Azure Divine Realm. The humans in the Azure Divine Realm naturally couldn't bear it. Let's go. Tang Feng waved his hand, and a force wrapped around everyone. He took a step forward and the void turned upside down. The next moment they appeared in a void in the Eastern Universe. In the dark and cold void, 5 palaces floated. The 5 palaces were the 5 heavenly palaces. One could see figures flashing in the Heavenly Palace. They were all demi-humans. Tang Feng waved his hand, and a large number of figures appeared in the void. Activate the array. As soon as they saw Lu Ming and the others, the demi-humans roared. Suddenly, the 5 heavenly palaces were filled with dense runes. They were all top origin level arrays, and with the origin bones as the array foundation, they were solid and immortal. Humph! Tang Feng snorted and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Since he entered the primitive universe, he had been besieged by the demi-humans many times. Of his 2 wives, one was dead and the other was injured. This debt should have been settled long ago. Tang Feng didn't make a move, but 5 sword lights burst out from his eyes and turned into a shocking giant sword, slashing at the 5 heavenly palaces. It was unstoppable. This was a true immortal's attack. Origin-level arrays and defenses were like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Bang bang bang, the sword lights slashed down and the 5 heavenly palaces all exploded. A large number of figures flew out, screaming in panic. Tang Feng frowned. He didn't find any sub-immortals among the demi-humans. There was not a single sub-immortal. In particular, he didn't see any familiar faces or people who had fought with him before, such as the Yi Immortal and Yi Chu. Lu Ming and the others immediately realized the problem. Yi Immortal and Yi Qiuxin aren't here. Lu Ming scanned the area with his spiritual awareness and found no trace of Yi Immortal or Yi Qiuxin. Even some of the younger prodigies of the demi-human tribe didn't see him. Tang Feng extended his hand and grabbed. A peak reciprocity old man was caught in Tang Feng's hand, unable to resist at all. Tang Feng reached out and tapped the space between the man's eyebrows. This was the beginning of the soul search. A moment later, Tang Feng waved his hand, and the demi-human elder turned to dust. The higher-ups of the demi-human race have left, including a group of young geniuses. I don't know where they went. These people have been abandoned. Tang Feng said. Everyone's face sank. It seems like the Yi Immortal and the others took the sub-immortals and a group of prodigies of the demi-human tribe and left the primitive universe. They might have joined the holy light great cosmos. Lu Ming said. It wasn't hard to guess. Obviously, the Yi Immortal and the others took away a group of core forces of the demi-human tribe. The reason why they didn't take away all the demi-humans was most likely intentional. Taking them away together would cause too much of a commotion, and they were afraid of attracting Tang Feng's attention. The 4 sub-immortals of the demi-human tribe had participated in the battle in the Azure Divine Realm. They most likely knew that Tang Feng had become an immortal. If they took all the demi-humans away, it would easily attract Tang Feng's attention and they would be attacked. At that time, no one would be able to escape. Taking away a small group of core forces and leaving most of the demi-humans behind to attract the attention of Tang Feng and the others. What a ruthless method. In order to escape, they were willing to sacrifice an entire tribe. You can escape for a while, but can you escape for a lifetime? Tang Feng said coldly. If you want to make a move, do it. In the end, Tang Feng spoke. He didn't make a move. His main enemies were the Yi Immortal Yi Chu Zhangquang, and those sub-immortal old fellows. Moreover, with his current status and cultivation, he disdained to make a move on these ordinary demi-humans. Kill. These demi-humans can't be left alive. Kill. Tang Feng didn't make a move, but many others did. In the Great Desolate Alliance, there were many large tribes that had been destroyed by the Heavenly Palace in the past. This kind of deep hatred couldn't be easily forgotten. One figure after another charged toward the demi-humans. Kill. Ling Yue also rushed out. She drew her bow and an arrow pierced through the void, blasting one of the origin source experts of the demi-humans. Ling Yue had obtained the Immortal's inheritance in the Immortal Graveyard. She had improved a lot in all aspects, and her battle strength was extremely strong and her foundation was deep. Now, her cultivation had also reached the peak of early-stage origin source. With her battle strength, it was not difficult for her to kill ordinary mid-stage origin source experts of the Heavenly Human Tribe. One had to know that the Heavenly Human Tribe was also suppressed in the Great Desolate Universe, especially at the origin source level. The suppression was even stronger. In a one-on-one battle at the same level, they were often not a match for the origin source of the Great Desolate Universe. Kill. Ling Yue shouted. Her beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent. At this moment, scenes of the elf tribe and her father constantly flashed through her mind. Her clansmen had been annihilated, and her relatives had been killed. This was an irreconcilable hatred. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, terrifying arrows were shot out one after another. Ordinary early-stage and mid-stage origin source experts couldn't block her arrows. In addition, she also aimed at the Divine Lord Heavenly Human Tribe. Every arrow took the life of a Heavenly Human Tribe member. Die. With a furious roar, a Heavenly Human Tribe elder stared at Ling Yue and charged toward her. This was a peak origin source expert. His battle strength was not weaker than the master of the Heavenly Palace. This was the previous master of the Heavenly Palace. After abdicating, he had been in seclusion in the 5th Heavenly Palace and rarely appeared in the world. How could an old fox like him not know that they had been abandoned? The Yi Immortal left silently with a group of sub-immortals and a group of geniuses from the Heavenly Palace. Even he didn't know. Now that he saw Tang Feng and the others charging over, he knew that they had been abandoned. He knew that Tang Feng and the others would definitely not let them go. He might as well go all out. Even if he died, he would drag someone down with him. Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward and threw out a punch. The former lord of the Heavenly Palace let out a miserable shriek as his body exploded into pieces. With Lu Ming's current battle strength, killing ordinary peak origin source experts was too easy. Lu Ming protected Ling Yue by her side. If Ling Yue couldn't deal with it, he would deal with it. In this area, screams rose and fell. This was a completely one-sided massacre. The experts of the Heavenly Palace had all left. How could the remaining people have any morale? Moreover, with a true immortal like Tang Feng holding down the fort, there wouldn't be any accidents at all. Half an hour later, the people who were attacking stopped. Including Ling Yue, they all stopped. The main thing was that the experts of the demi-humans had all been killed. The Divine Lords and Origin Source experts were almost all wiped out. The rest were all below the Divine Lord level. In their eyes, those below the Divine Lord level weren't worth killing. Moreover, there were a large number of ordinary demi-humans. Although they had a deep hatred for the demi-humans, they couldn't slaughter ordinary demi-humans who couldn't fight back. Chapter 52:16. Leader, what should we do with the rest of the demi-humans? Lion asked Tang Feng. Tang Feng was now the leader of the alliance. I'll do it, Tang Feng said. He reached out and grabbed the air. Suddenly the world turned upside down, and the shadows of several worlds appeared in the void. Heavenly prison. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. One of the worlds was where the Heavenly Palace used to imprison the other races. It was called the Heavenly Prison. Lu Ming had been there before. Lu Ming didn't know about the other worlds. However, they were vast and huge. It shouldn't be a minor world, but a medium-class world. Several huge vortexes suddenly appeared, erupting with a powerful devouring force that enveloped all the demi-humans. The densely packed demi-humans did not have the slightest ability to resist and were swallowed into these worlds. After a while, all the demi-humans were swallowed into those worlds. Not a single one was left. The demi-humans are all sealed in those worlds. They will be the training grounds of the primitive universe in the future, Tang Feng said. That's a good idea. Many people's eyes lit up. It was impossible for them to slaughter the ordinary demi-humans, but it was absolutely impossible for them to ignore them. They could seal all the demi-humans in different worlds according to their cultivation level. In the future, the geniuses of the primitive universe could enter these worlds to kill the demi-humans and train themselves. Killing two birds with one stone. Now it's time to deal with those vermin. Tang Feng's eyes swept across the universe. Then he waved his hand and led everyone back to the primitive universe. Tang Feng didn't stop. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He's going to make a move on the major forbidden lands, Ancestor Wu Yan said. Everyone was shocked. Sword Ancestor Tang Feng was going to make a move on the major forbidden lands. This was definitely an earth-shattering event. Now, the creatures of the Outerverse had left the primitive universe, but the major forbidden lands still hadn't made a move. At most, they would call back their own people and hide in the forbidden lands. Could Tang Feng do it? One had to know that the major forbidden lands had crossed countless years and came to the primitive universe a long time ago. In the previous era, when the human kings suppressed the world, they still existed and hadn't been destroyed. This showed how powerful they were. Now that Tang Feng had just become an immortal, how could he deal with the major forbidden lands? Many people showed a worried look. Although Sword Ancestor Tang Feng is extremely talented, I'm afraid he is not an ordinary genuine immortal. Moreover, he rose from the ashes and became the first immortal after the destruction of the untainted universe. As long as he is in the untainted universe, he can borrow the power of the untainted universe and increase his combat strength by many times. However, there are immortal kings in the Forbidden Lands. I'm afraid even if Tang Feng can borrow the power of the untainted universe, he is not a match for immortal kings. The old ancestor of the Quasi-Saint tribe, Song Lin, was also worried. All the races and living beings were well aware of this. Right now, there were many things waiting to be done in the great desolate universe. Compared to the other complete great cosmoses, the difference was too great. If they wanted to have the right to speak, if they wanted to rise up, if they wanted to protect their homeland, they had to work together. Now that the land was vast and the population was sparse, resources were abundant, and there was no need to compete for resources. This would also help to unite all the living beings in the primordial universe. He's not an impulsive person. You should have a plan, Fei Huang said. She had fought side by side with Tang Feng for many years and knew him very well. Peer. Thoughtless primogenitor performed a hand seal, and a huge image appeared in the void. The land of extreme evil. Lu Ming recognized at a glance that the image was the land of extreme evil. Tang Feng stood in the air above the land of extreme evil, and his eyes were like divine swords. At this moment, the land of extreme evil was facing a great enemy. A large formation was shining with dazzling light, enveloping the entire land of extreme evil. The large formation was extremely terrifying, and its aura was shocking. Even through the image, there was a kind of pressure that made people breathless. This is one of the foundations of the major forbidden lands. The immortal formation uses an immortal weapon as the formation base. It's extremely powerful and can kill true immortals. Even immortal kings can't break it. This is also one of the reasons why the major forbidden lands can exist for so long. Of course, it's also because the lords of the major forbidden lands are strong enough. They are all immortal kings. Ancestor Wu Nian explained. Immortal formation. Lu Ming was shocked. He had entered the Forbidden Lands more than once. Dandan had once said that there was a terrifying formation in the Forbidden Lands, but it had never been awakened. Lu Ming had also seen it with the Demon King rune. Now the immortal formation was awakened, emitting endless light, like a bright lamp in the dark and cold void. Senior, I've heard that the Forbidden Grounds have come to the ancient Desolation universe a long time ago. Why is that? Someone asked the ancestors. We don't know either. It happened very long ago. At that time, the Magi and demons hadn't risen yet. The primitive universe wasn't strong in the entire world of the living. It was ranked after 10,000, and there were no records of it in the ancient books. Ancestor Wu Nian shook his head. Everyone was shocked. Even the ancestors didn't know about it, which showed how long ago it was. But it was strange. At that time, the primitive universe hadn't risen yet. The Magi and demons hadn't competed for hegemony, and the human race was even weaker. The three human kings were far from being born. The primitive universe was ranked after 10,000 among the tens of thousands of universes in the world of the living. It could be said that it was ordinary and unremarkable. Why would the immortal kings of the Yin world bring people to the primitive universe and turn it into a forbidden land? Over the years, a large number of Yin world experts entered the primitive universe. The creatures of the Yin world were more familiar with the origin of these forbidden lands. The origin of these forbidden lands was gradually spread, so Lu Ming and the others knew a lot more about the origin of the forbidden lands than before. The more they knew, the stranger it was. The predecessors of these forbidden lands were the major races of the Yin world. They had immortal kings and could be said to be very powerful. But why had they decided to invade the Urwild's universe and turn it into a forbidden land, and refuse to leave? They couldn't figure it out. I heard some news from the ancestors of the monsters. It is said that the reason why the races of the Yin world came to the primitive universe and turned it into a forbidden land and didn't want to leave is to find an opportunity to break through, the Phoenix of the monsters said. An opportunity to break through? You mean to break through to the immortal king realm? Ancestor Wu Nian's expression changed drastically. That's right. The Phoenix of the monsters nodded solemnly. Impossible. How can there be an opportunity to break through to the immortal king realm in the primitive universe? If there really is, my father wouldn't have been stuck at the immortal king realm back then. The little human king shook his head in disbelief. It's just a rumor from the ancestors of the monsters. I don't believe it either. The Phoenix of the monsters also shook her head. Chapter 52:17. Seniors, is there a higher realm above the immortal king? Lu Ming asked curiously. Many people also looked at the true immortals. Over the years, the invasion of the Outerverse powerhouses had brought a lot of information. Didn't they say that the three human kings were all peak experts in the cosmic sea? Didn't they say that the immortal king was the peak? Was there a realm above it? I'm not sure. When I was at my peak, I was far from the immortal king. As for whether the realm above the immortal king exists or not, I'm not sure. Phoenix of the demon race said. It's just a legend. Anyway, I've never seen a living being of that level. Ancestor Wu Nian also shook his head. There is. At this moment, the human king spoke again. Everyone looked at the junior human king curiously. The human king had already stepped into the immortal king realm when he was at his peak. And his father, human king Shen Yuan, was a peak existence among the immortal kings, reaching the limit of the immortal king. Whether there was a realm above the immortal king, who knew better than human king Shen Yuan whether there was a realm above the immortal king? Father once said that the immortal king had not reached the limit of cultivation. He sensed that there should be a realm above the immortal king. It was mysterious and unfathomable, but it definitely existed. Moreover, he also said that there was definitely an existence of that level in the Elysian clan. As for whether there was an existence of that level in the top 10 great cosmoses of the Yang realm, Father did not say. At that time I was still young. After that, I never heard Father mention it again. However, I always felt that there might be an existence of that level in the top 10 great cosmoses. The human king said. I once heard people from other great cosmoses talk about it in the Yang court. Someone said that once one of the three human kings of the primitive universe broke through, the primitive universe would immediately enter the top 10 of the Yang realm. Therefore, there might not be an existence of that level in the top 10. Song Lin said. Then, the immortals fell silent and did not say anything more. Isn't the immortal king the end point? It should be. Otherwise, why would human king Shen Yuan be seriously injured and die? Lu Ming's thoughts were flying, but his attention was immediately attracted by the scene in the void. Clang. Sword light soared into the sky. Tang Feng directly made his move. The dazzling sword light slashed toward the land of extreme evil. Tang Feng borrowed the energy of the desolate universe, and its power was unparalleled. Boom! The sword light slashed onto the array, causing the array to shake violently. The members of the extreme evil race in the formation were pale and sweating profusely. The sword light was too terrifying. If it weren't for the formation blocking it, they would definitely have been turned into ashes by the sword light. Why do you have to be so overbearing? I can promise you that my clan will only stay in the forbidden grounds and not go out. How about it? In the depths of the land of extreme evil, a figure stood there, shrouded in endless power, emitting a terrifying aura. This was the lord of the abominable forbidden land, an existence who had been slumbering for countless years, a true king of the immortal Tao. Get out of the primitive universe, you vermin! Tang Feng shouted coldly. His attitude was firm and unquestionable. These forbidden lands were like ticking time bombs in the great desolate universe. Who knew when they would explode? Humph, you're just a brat who just became an immortal. Do you really think you can do anything to us? Even in the previous epic, the three sovereign personages, the 10,000 Fiends Monarch, and that Supreme Shaman King could not do anything to us. Do you think you can? A gloomy voice sounded. It was an old man standing behind the Lord of the abominable forbidden land. He was a powerful true immortal. Not only were there immortal kings in the forbidden lands, but there were also true immortals. He did not take Tang Feng seriously at all. They had an extremely powerful immortal formation with immortal weapons as the base. Under the activation of immortal kings and true immortals, its power was boundless. Even immortal kings could not break it. In the previous epic, even sovereign personages would have to pay a price if they tried to break in. Kill? Tang Feng did not bother to talk nonsense and attacked again. The sword light was shocking. Endless rules and order covered the battle sword, raising Tang Feng's battle strength to the peak. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Endless sword light fell like raindrops, slashing on the immortal formation of the abominable forbidden land. The immortal formation shook violently. The Lord of the Forbidden Land's expression changed. He shouted softly, and immortal king-level energy poured into the immortal formation to strengthen the power of the immortal formation. Immortal king-level battle strength. This person has just broken through the immortal realm. How can he unleash immortal king-level battle strength? The old true immortal of the extreme evil tribe shouted in shock. It was unbelievable and unbelievable. Even if he could borrow the power of the primitive universe, it could not be so exaggerated. Amazing, really amazing. After consolidating his realm, he can actually unleash immortal king-level battle strength. His future is promising. Even sovereign personages were not like this when they were young. Ancestor thoughtless sighed. Sovereign personage was silent and did not refute. Tang Feng was really amazing. He also agreed with this statement. He was called sovereign personage because he was absolutely amazing. He was not very old, but he had reached the immortal king realm. Everyone was optimistic that he would be the fourth sovereign personage of the human race. However, he seemed to be inferior to Tang Feng when he had just become an immortal. Previously, Tang Feng had just broken through, so he was not a match for immortal kings and was suppressed by the immortal kings of the Great Bone Cosmos. However, after half a year of consolidating and borrowing the power of the primitive universe, Tang Feng had reached the immortal king level. It could be said that in the primitive universe, Tang Feng was equivalent to an immortal king. At this moment, even the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe had an ugly expression. This person is too monstrous. He has just become an immortal and he can already do this. If he becomes an immortal king in the future, how strong will he be with the power of the primitive universe? When that time comes, will we still have a chance of survival? Suddenly, a figure appeared outside the land of extreme evilness. Its aura was terrifying, and it was not weaker than the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe. Nine demonic spider. Tang Feng narrowed his eyes. It was very likely the lord of the Nine demonic spider. Old spider, what are you going to do? In another direction a figure also appeared. It was burly and wrapped in pitch-black iron armor, emitting a gloomy aura. Another immortal king from the Dark Heaven warrior clan. Get rid of him as soon as possible. Otherwise, when he grows up, there will be no place for us, the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe said. 9 demonic spiders immortal king spoke. 8 spider legs extended from the depths of his back, like 8 exceptional divine spears, able to pierce through the great universe. The expressions of Ancestor Wu Nian, Lu Ming, and the others changed drastically. The lords of the Forbidden Lands had moved one after another to kill Tang Feng. If they really attacked, it would be a fatal blow. Tang Feng would definitely not be able to block it. Everyone's palms couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. They comforted themselves that Tang Feng should have a backup plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a hurry to attack the Forbidden Lands. You probably forgot that this is the Yang realm and you are from the Yin realm, Tang Feng sneered. Facing the immortal kings, his expression was still calm. When Tang Feng's voice fell, one figure after another suddenly appeared around him. 1, 2, 3, there were a total of 8, all of them immortal kings. Chapter 52:18. Around Tang Feng, figures appeared one after another. These figures had unparalleled power, and their auras swallowed the universe. They were indomitable, as if they were going to fill the void of the universe. Every single one of them was larger than the entire land of extreme evilness. They were all immortal kings from various top great cosmoses in the Yang realm. For example, Sacred Light Great Cosmos, Jade Clear Great Cosmos, Shangqing Great Cosmos, Taiqing Great Cosmos, Celestial Insect Great Cosmos, etc. They were all from the top 10 great cosmoses in the Yang realm. One of them was a woman with peerless beauty and an unparalleled aura. She was none other than the female immortal king from the heaven race. The faces of the lords of the Forbidden Lands changed drastically. They retreated and prepared for a battle. You want to interfere? The lord of the 9 demonic spider asked. Nonsense, the Eldritch universe belongs to the Yang realm. You people from the Yin realm have been hiding here. If you don't leave, you can stay here forever. A burly man said. He was an immortal king from the Shangqing Great Cosmos. Leave as soon as possible. We won't interfere. If you don't leave, we can only leave all of you here. The female immortal king of the heaven race also said. The lords of the Forbidden Lands looked terrible. They naturally had an important purpose for staying in the Eldritch universe. They were unwilling to leave after waiting for countless years. Moreover, if they really wanted to fight, there were still 8 Forbidden Lands in the Eldritch universe. The lords of the Forbidden Lands were all top immortal kings. If the 8 of them joined forces, they might not be afraid of the immortal kings of the Yang realm. However, this was the Yang realm. The immortal kings of the Yang realm would come to help at any time. If a battle really broke out, they would definitely die. Now that the other party let them leave safely, they were obviously afraid of their strength and didn't want to risk their lives. What should they do? The lords of the Forbidden Lands thought quickly. They felt strange. In the past, they hid in the Eldritch universe. It wasn't that the great cosmoses of the Yang realm didn't know, but they had never interfered. Why would they suddenly interfere now? If you don't leave, you can stay here forever. The female immortal king of the heaven race said coldly. Her aura was cold and murderous. Okay, let's go. In the end, one of the lords of the Forbidden Lands spoke. The other lords of the Forbidden Lands sighed, but there was nothing they could do. Since the Firmament clan had interfered, they had to leave even if they didn't want to. Otherwise they would die. Apart from the Yellow Sky clan, no other great cosmos or clan in the entire universe could go against the Firmament clan. Unless they brought over the Yellow Sky clan. However, it was not the time for the final battle yet. The Yellow Sky clan would not risk their lives to fight the Heaven clan for some selfish reasons. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, in the dark a figure left. The various immortal kings of the Yang realm had cold expressions on their faces. They were not surprised. Those who left in secret were the lords of other Forbidden Lands. They had arrived a long time ago, but they never showed themselves, hiding in the dark. It was clear that the lords of the Forbidden Grounds had discussed in secret and agreed to retreat. Rumble. Not long after, an ancient city flew out from the land of extreme evil. It broke through the void and flew toward the universe passage. At the same time, the situation was similar in the other Forbidden Lands. All sorts of treasures flew out from the lands that had been hidden for countless years. Not too long after, the 8 great Forbidden Lands all withdrew, not a single one remaining. Tang Feng, we've already done what we promised you. We don't owe each other anything. A figure shrouded in pure white holy light said coldly. This person was an immortal king from the holy light great cosmos. After saying that, this immortal king's figure moved and disappeared without a trace. Some of the remaining immortal kings did not say a word and disappeared with a step. Some said a few polite words to Tang Feng and disappeared one after another. The last female immortal king of the Firmament clan also smiled at Tang Feng in a friendly manner and left the chaotic universe. Tang Feng returned to the chaotic universe. Tang Feng, what conditions did you reach with them? Why did these immortal kings of the Outerverse help to expel the various Forbidden Lands? Fei Huang asked curiously. It's very simple. I agreed to let the beings of the various great cosmoses leave and let bygones be bygones. They agreed to help expel the various forbidden lands. Tang Feng said, I see. Fei Huang, Lu Ming, and the others were enlightened. With Tang Feng's strength, with the help of the universe's power, he was already comparable to an immortal king. If he wanted to keep those beings and geniuses of the outer verse, the true immortals and immortal kings of the outer verse might not be able to protect all of them. Tang Feng let them go, and the other party agreed to join forces to expel the various forbidden lands. I have a feeling that it's not that simple. In the last era, the Firmament clan and the other great cosmoses completely ignored the various forbidden lands. Some people speculated that this was the method of the various great cosmoses to restrain the chaotic universe, lest the chaotic universe rise too quickly. But now, why did they agree to expel the various forbidden lands so easily? The little human king was puzzled. If the Firmament clan or the other great cosmoses wanted to help the chaotic universe expel the various forbidden lands, why would they wait until now? In the last era, it had already been done. Could it be that they saw that the chaotic universe was in ruins and their strength was insignificant, so they didn't care? Everyone couldn't figure it out for a while, so they stopped thinking about it. Next, there is one more important thing that concerns whether the chaotic universe can return to Yang Court. Tang Feng's tone changed. Yang Court has made a condition? Ancestor Wu Nian's eyes lit up. These former true immortals knew that if they wanted to join Yang Court, not only did they need a local true immortal to oversee it, but they also had to fulfill certain conditions. Yes, but it's very difficult. Tang Feng nodded. Then Tang Feng glanced at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Tang Xiao, Lion and the others and said, maybe you don't know the benefits of joining Yang Court. Let me tell you in detail. In the world of the living, if a great cosmos wanted to develop, it had to join Yang Court. First, joining Yang Court would give them protection. Without the protection of Yang Court, they would be attacked by the Yin world. If they were attacked by the Yin world, they would be destroyed. Second, joining Yang Court would give them the resources of Yang Court, which were crucial for the development of the great cosmos. Yang Court controlled the top resources in the world of the living and the top cultivation sacred ground. With these resources, the cultivation speed of many elites would be greatly accelerated. The upper limit of the future would also be increased. Not only would it affect the elites, but it would also affect the cultivation of all the beings in the entire great cosmos. For example, the chaotic universe's current location was close to the border between the world of the living and the Yin world. It was extremely far away from the Yang Universe Sea. If it was too far away from the Universe Sea, it would be more difficult to connect the Universe Bridge. Even if the Universe Bridge was connected, it would be more difficult to comprehend the origin because of the distance. Although cultivators could enter the Universe Sea through the Universe Bridge, they didn't actually enter the Universe Sea. However, it was not really entering the cosmic ocean. It was just a reflection of the cosmic ocean, projecting the cosmic ocean into one's consciousness. However, the cultivators themselves felt as if their consciousness had entered the cosmic ocean. Chapter 52:19. The further the universe was from the Universe Sea, the more illusory the reflection would be, and the weaker the energy of the Universe Sea would be. The closer one was to the Universe Sea, the more realistic the reflection would be, and the faster one would be able to comprehend the origin. After joining the Yang Court, as long as one fulfilled certain conditions, the primitive universe would be able to move closer to the Universe Sea. It was said that the firmament universe was the closest to the Universe Sea among the tens of thousands of universes in the Yang world. The other top 10 universes were also very close to the Universe Sea. These benefits could only be obtained by joining the Yang Court. No universe could be independent. If one didn't join the Universe Sea, not only would it be difficult for them to develop, but they wouldn't be protected by the Yang Court and would be destroyed by the Yin world sooner or later. There were many things waiting to be done in the primitive universe, so they needed to join the Yang Court and obtain the resources to cultivate. Of course, the resources couldn't be given for free. They had to pay a price. After Tang Feng's explanation, everyone knew that joining the Yang Court was very important. The Yang Court has already set the conditions. If the primitive universe wants to join the Yang Court again, you have to fulfill one condition. No, to be precise, there are 3 conditions. First, a perfected immortal from the primitive universe must kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world. Second, a sub-immortal from the primitive universe must kill 9 sub-immortals from the Yin world. Third, the origin of the primitive universe must kill 3 top monsters from the Yin world and accumulate 3,000 battle merits. Tang Feng said. What? Why are the conditions so harsh? The 3 ancestral patriarchs, Phoenix, Song Lin and the others were all shocked. Song Lin even exclaimed. Lu Ming and the others also looked solemn. They knew that this condition was very difficult. Killing a perfected immortal from the Yin world. Only Tang Feng could do it, but perfected immortals were known as eternal immortals. How could they be so easy to kill? Besides, Tang Feng had just broken through. If you want to kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world, you have to enter the immortal level battlefield. The immortal level battlefield is full of dangers and experts. You can't use the power of the primitive universe in the immortal level battlefield, and you just broke through. If you want to kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world, I'm afraid. Ancestral Patriarch Thoughtless was worried. You don't have to worry about me. Since I've become an immortal, I'm invincible. Tang Feng spoke. His tone was neither fast nor slow, yet it revealed an undefeatable confidence and an undefeatable belief. Thinking of the miracles Tang Feng had created along the way, Thoughtless Primogenitor and the others did not say anything more. The second condition isn't easy. To kill 9 level 9 sub-immortals, one must be a sub-immortal. Seniors, all of you were once true immortals or immortal kings. Although your cultivation realm has dropped, you can't be considered a sub-immortal. You don't meet the conditions. In the end, Tang Feng's gaze landed on Fei Huang. Currently, there were very few sub-immortals in the primitive universe, and their cultivation levels were not high. They could only rely on Fei Huang. Leave the 9 ninth tribulation sub-immortals to me. Fei Huang said. Yes. Tang Feng nodded, clearly trusting Fei Huang a lot. What I'm most worried about is the third condition. Tang Feng continued, the third condition is the most difficult. You have to kill 3 top geniuses of the Yin world. Moreover, these 3 geniuses must be geniuses on the Yin world geniuses ranking. What? Must he be a monster on the monster ranking of the underworld? Aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Song Lin was shocked. The other incomplete immortals had unpleasant expressions too. The Yin world didn't have an origin ranking, but there was an origin realm monster ranking. Those who could be on the monster ranking were all top geniuses of the younger generation. This was because there were only 200 people on the monster ranking. There were tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the Yin world. Including the Yellow Sky clan, there were only 200 people. On average, there was only one person in 1 or 200 great cosmoses. These 200 people were all peerless geniuses, peerless geniuses. If they were brought to the mortal realm, they could easily enter the origin role. Who could deal with the current primitive universe? Everyone looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had hope, but his cultivation was too low. He was only at the late-stage origin realm. The most important thing is that one of the 3 geniuses has a specific name. He's called Shueshenzong. As for the other 2, as long as they're on the monster ranking, it's fine. Tang Feng said. Is Shueshenzong very strong? Fei Huang understood Tang Feng better. The moment she saw Tang Feng's expression, she could guess some things. Very strong. I've asked the true immortals of the outer verse. He's from the Permetha cosmos and is ranked 36th on the monster ranking. He's very young and has endless potential. Many people think he can make it to the top 20 in the future. Tang Feng said. At this moment, the 3 primogenitors, Song Lin, and the others' expressions turned ugly. This condition was no longer difficult. It was simply harsh. Killing 3 geniuses on the monster ranking was already extremely difficult. Moreover, one of them had been designated. If this person hid somewhere and didn't come out, how could they kill him? Moreover, this person was a peerless genius ranked 36th on the monster ranking. Such a person's battle strength was ridiculously strong. He was young and had endless potential. His battle strength could increase at any time. How could they kill him? How could they kill him? As for the 3,000 battle merits, it wasn't important. Relatively speaking, it was easier to obtain. Such harsh conditions. They're clearly deliberately making things difficult for us. Song Lin Path. I originally thought that those people from the Yang court would change their character and not make things difficult for our primitive universe. I didn't expect them to still be the same. The junior human king snorted coldly. The 3 conditions were each more difficult than the last. Which great cosmos that had just given birth to a true immortal could complete it? Killing a true immortal? Generally, great cosmoses that wanted to join the Yang court had just given birth to a true immortal. A true immortal who had just broken through was the weakest true immortal. How could they kill other true immortals? Killing 9 ninth tribulation sub-immortals was extremely difficult. Who would be weaker than a 9th tribulation sub-immortal? How difficult was it to kill them? And 9 of them. As for the requirements to reach reciprocity, that was even more difficult than reaching the heavens. Leave the 3rd condition to me. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. In the primitive universe, only he had a chance of completing this condition. At this moment, Lu Ming had to bear the responsibility. Lu Ming, I'll go with you, Xian Yanqing said. Young master, I'll go too. Jiu Yu followed. I'll go too, I want to go too. Wan Xin, Bubbles, Dandan, Ling Yue and the others said in unison. They all wanted to go with Lu Ming. No, it's useless to have more people. Besides, most of you don't have enough combat power. Even if you go, you won't be able to help. Instead, you'll implicate Lu Ming. Tang Feng shook his head and refused. Xian Yanqing and the others didn't look too good, but they knew that Tang Feng was right. I'll go alone, Lu Ming said. It's not appropriate for you to go alone. If you want to kill the experts of the underworld and obtain battle merits, you have to go to the origin battlefield. The battlefield is complicated and changeable, so you need someone to assist you. This little guy is proficient in array formations, so he can go with you. This little guy is proficient in the power of time and space, so he can also go with you. Tang Feng looked at Dandan and Bubbles. Chapter 52:20. Haha, Lu Ming, I knew it. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to leave me. Being called out by Tang Feng, he laughed heartily. He was so proud of himself that he felt like he was about to float. In the end, Lu Ming didn't refuse. Although he had the Fey Monarch runes, he could only see them. He wasn't very proficient in setting up formations. Bubble, on the other hand, was proficient in the power of time and space. She could come and go as she pleased. She was very useful at critical moments. And this little guy has a special constitution. He can also go with you to train. Then Tang Feng looked at the 10,000 gods. Wan Xin was overjoyed. That's right. After I received the Immortal's inheritance, my origin root became very special. I can fuse with the essence blood of different races, causing my origin root to transform. That's possible? This time, not only was Lu Ming shocked, but even Ancestor Thoughtless, Song Lin and the other remnant immortals were shocked. Their eyes flashed as they looked at Wan Xin in amazement. To be able to fuse with the essence blood of different races and transform one's origin root was simply heaven-defying. Among the physical body, soul, and origin root, the hardest to transform was the origin root. Treasures that could transform the origin root were also the rarest. Many people's origin root level was fixed after breaking through to the origin realm. Without special opportunities, it was difficult to raise the level of the origin root. Only during the immortal tribulation and the tempering of the immortal tribulation could it transform. Of course, many people died under the immortal tribulation before the transformation was complete. It was unheard of for Wan Xin to have such talent. Lu Ming guessed that it might have something to do with Wan Xin's background. Wan Xin was born from the essence blood of dozens of primordial divine spirits and had the essence blood of dozens of primordial divine realm experts. Now that he had reached the origin realm and obtained the immortal Dao's inheritance, he had such talent. In that case, Wan Xin was indeed suitable to go with Lu Ming. When they went to the origin battlefield, they would definitely face countless races. By absorbing their essence blood, Wan Xin would definitely be able to quickly improve and transform his origin root. Alright, it's decided. As for the others, I'll send you to another place to improve your cultivation, Tang Feng said. Although Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and the others really wanted to go, they knew that they wouldn't be of much help even if they went. They wanted to say something, but in the end they didn't say anything. Lu Ming, I've also found a few other helpers to go with you. They should be arriving soon, Tang Feng said again. Find a few helpers? Lu Ming was puzzled. Which origins in the primitive universe had the ability to help him? Even peak reciprocity wouldn't be of much help to him, right? Unless it was someone like Gu Changfeng. However, Gu Changfeng had not reached the origin level yet. He's here? Tang Feng looked to the east. Whoosh, whoosh. In the east, 3 streaks of light were rushing over. In the next moment, the light receded, revealing 3 silhouettes. It's them? Lu Ming was greatly surprised. The 3 of them were Anya Rose, Di Jenny and Ling Heng. What surprised Lu Ming the most was that the cultivation of the 3 of them had reached the later stage of the origin level. Moreover, his body exuded a lofty and incomparably vigorous aura. The aura of the immortal path. Anya Rose and the other 2 actually gave off a faint aura of the immortal path. Could it be because of the immortal's molt? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming hadn't seen Anya Rose since they parted ways in Purple Heaven Cave. When they were in Purple Heaven Cave, Lu Ming felt that Anya Rose was extremely mysterious and had many secrets. In his previous life, Anya Rose was just Xian Yanqing's war pet. According to Xian Yanqing's memory, Anya Rose didn't seem to have any secrets in his previous life. This was very strange. Lu Ming couldn't figure it out. Anyways, Anya Rose had gained a lot in Purple Heaven Cave. Not only did she get an entire Divine Source tea, but she also got the Immortal's Mold. Looking at it now, Anya Rose, Di Jinny and Ling Heng had gained a lot from the Immortal's Mold, which led to a huge improvement in their cultivation. Their abilities were definitely not weak. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, long time no see. Anya Rose smiled at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. She was dazzling. It's been a while since we last met. Your cultivations are truly astonishing. Lu Ming said. You're not weak either. Looks like it's really difficult to surpass you. Anya Rose smiled. Di Jinny and Ling Heng stood behind Anya Rose and didn't say anything. However, although Di Jinny didn't say anything when he looked at Lu Ming, there was a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. As for Ling Heng, he was calm. When he looked at Lu Ming and the rest, he gave them a friendly smile. To be honest, Lu Ming wouldn't underestimate Di Jinny and Ling Heng. Their talents were definitely top-notch. Di Jinny, like him, walked out of a small world and rose all the way. He used to compete with him and wasn't much weaker than him. Ling Heng, who used to be ranked first on the Myriad Race Prodigy list, was recognized by 2 Origin Ancient Words. He was definitely extraordinary. Lu Ming, this time, the 3 of them will go to the Origin battlefield in Universe Ocean with you. You have to help each other. Tang Feng reminded. Lu Ming and Anya Rose nodded. Although they had some grudges in the past, they were in the past. Now, they were in the same camp and had the same goal, which was to develop the primitive universe. Alright, we'll set off in a month. After Tang Feng finished speaking, he disappeared. Everyone also dispersed. 20 days later, Tang Feng sent Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Tang Jun and the rest of the talented young prodigies to a place to cultivate so that they could improve their cultivation as soon as possible. During this period of time, the primitive universe was recovering even more rapidly. The cultivation environment was getting better and better. Many people had broken through. For example, Lion, who used to be a peak almighty, had also broken through and stepped into the Origin realm. Most importantly, Gu Changfeng had also broken through. Gu Changfeng had a forbidden body. A forbidden body didn't have bad talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been recognized by the forbidden power. Even if he wasn't as good as Tang Feng and Fei Huang, he wasn't too far off. He was older than Tang Feng and Fei Huang, but he was seriously injured and had been in a deep sleep all these years. Fortunately, Lu Ming's 5 elements fairy tears and a bunch of other treasures helped him recover. After going through the test of life and death, Gu Changfeng had an extremely deep understanding of cultivation. He had been trapped by his injuries, so his cultivation hadn't broken through. Now that he had broken through, his cultivation skyrocketed. He broke through consecutively and reached the peak of the Middle Origin realm. He believed that as long as he consolidated for a while, he would be able to break through again. This was a result of good preparation. A month later, Lu Ming and the others officially set off. Tang Feng and Fei Huang brought along Lu Ming and Dandan. Bubbles, Wan Shen, Anya Rose, Di Jinny, and Ling Heng headed toward the Universe Channel. Of course, Qiuqiu had been following Lu Ming, so he naturally went with them. As soon as they left the Universe Channel, their surroundings were chaotic. They couldn't see anything. It was a blur. Chapter 52-21. As soon as they left the Universe Passage, they were surrounded by chaos. The chaos was surging and each wisp was as heavy as a mountain. Lu Ming and the others had to use the power of Origin to resist. I heard that there is chaos outside the universe, and all the universes are suspended in the boundless chaos. I wonder how the universes communicate with each other? Lu Ming asked curiously. Could they travel through the chaos? That was unlikely. He was no longer the ignorant young man he used to be. He knew a lot of secrets. Outside the universe was the boundless chaos. A great universe like the primitive universe was as insignificant as a speck of dust in the midst of the chaos. The distance between each universe was endless. It would take a long time to travel through the chaos. Besides, he also heard that there were all kinds of terrifying chaos thunderstorms and storms in the chaos. Even true immortals would be in danger. Those below the true immortal realm generally didn't dare to enter the chaos. Although there might be rare treasures in the chaos such as immortal weapons and even immortal skills, it was too dangerous. Those below the true immortal realm who entered the chaos rashly would most likely die. The chaos is extremely dangerous. How can you cross it easily? In fact, each universe is connected by a chaos passage, Tang Feng said. Everyone was curious. Chaos passage? Everyone was curious. I went to Yang Court recently and learned a lot of information. I have a rough map of the Universe Sea with me. Let me show it to you so you know what to do. Then Tang Feng waved his hand and a picture appeared in the air. On both sides of the picture were two huge light balls. They emitted dazzling light like the ocean or the sun. One of the light balls emitted a hot light, while the other one emitted a cold aura. The light balls on both sides are the Yin-Yang Universe C. The one with the hot light is the Yang Universe C, and the other is the Yin Universe C. Tang Feng explained. In the middle of the two Universe Cs was the boundless chaos space. If the map was divided into four directions, east, west, north and south, the Yin-Yang Universe C was in the east and west. The center of the Universe C, as well as the entire north and south direction, was filled with endless chaos space. There were small light spots in the middle of the Yin-Yang Universe C, which looked very small like dust. There were no more light spots in the north and south direction. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense and found that there were more than 70,000 light spots. Some of these light spots were relatively close to Universe C, while some were very far away. These light spots are great cosmoses. Tang Feng explained. Senior, in the north and south direction of the map, there is no great universe there. What is there? The myriad deities asked. There is boundless chaos there. Because it is too far away from Universe Ocean, there is no multiverse. After all, the multiverse is too far away from Universe Ocean, so it is not connected to Universe Ocean and cannot comprehend the origin and cultivate. The primordial chaos in those two directions is boundless. Not to mention true immortals, even immortal kings wouldn't be able to detect its boundaries. Some people speculate that the primal chaos is boundless. Tang Feng said. Look, these great universes are all connected by tiny threads. This is the chaos channel, said Qin Lai. Tang Feng pointed at the map. Everyone nodded. They had all seen these threads. These chaos channels were opened by the second-ranked great universe in the world of the living, the great universe of chaos. They are connected to other great universes. Through the great universe of chaos flying ships, you can travel between great universes very fast and avoid the dangers in the primal chaos. Look, our primitive universe is located here. In the end, Tang Feng pointed in a direction. It was in the middle of the Yin-Yang Universe C. Among them, there was a light spot that was slightly tilted toward the Yang Universe C. It was still in the world of the living, but it was close to the border between the world of the living and the world of the living. A long time ago, the experts from both sides would often engage in earth-shattering battles in this area. Therefore, all the dangerous things in the primal chaos have been obliterated. The primal chaos in this area is no longer dangerous. Therefore, many living beings from the Yin world and the Yang world were able to come to our primitive universe. There were not only chaos channels between great universes but also many stations. These stations served as transit platforms. When traveling, one could first go to these transit platforms and then go to the various great universes. There was a transit platform not far away from the primitive universe. Previously, the various great universes first went to this transit platform, then passed through the primal chaos around the primitive universe and went to the primitive universe. Because this place was close to the border between the two worlds, the dangers in the primal chaos had long been obliterated, so there was no danger in traveling through the primal chaos. If it was any other place, even the primal chaos near the universe was full of danger. Most great universes and universe channels were connected to the primal chaos channels outside. Because the primitive universe had been sealed, it had been wandering in the primal chaos, so its universe channel had long been cut off from the primal chaos channels outside. There was a primal chaos channel in the world of the living, and there was a similar channel in the world of the living. Naturally, it was not opened by the great universes of the living, but by the great universes of the Yin world. There are two main types of battlefields in the world of the living and the world of the living. One is the immortal level battlefield, where sub-immortals, true immortals, and even immortal kings fight. Let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about the other type of battlefield, which is the origin battlefield. Look, are there some light spots at the border between the world of the living and the world of the living? Tang Feng said. Everyone nodded. There were about a dozen light spots at the center of the border between the two worlds. However, these light spots were dimmer than the other light spots. These light spots were at the center. In fact, the primitive universe was close to these light spots, but slightly closer to the world of the living. These light spots are the abandoned great universes in the world of the living and the world of the living. After the heart of the universe was shattered and disappeared, it eventually became a battlefield. The dozens of abandoned great universes here are all origin battlefields. As for the immortal level battlefield, it is not at the border between the world of the living and the world of the living. It is somewhere else. You will naturally know when you become a sub-immortal. Tang Feng explained. So that was it. Lu Ming and the others were secretly scared. If the primitive universe lost the heart of the universe, would it also be the battlefield between the two worlds? If that was the case, there would be no chance of a comeback. Your destination this time is one of the universe battlefields. This great universe is very strange. It floated from the primal chaos in the north. It is dead silent and there are no living creatures, but it is very mysterious. No one knows when it was left, but it contains a lot of great opportunities, which attracted countless origin experts from the world of the living and the world of the living. Tang Feng said. Chapter 52-22. There's actually an abandoned great universe in the boundless chaos? Lu Ming and the others were stunned. Even Fei Huang seemed to have heard of it for the first time and she looked curious. The boundless chaos is boundless and mysterious. No one can explore it clearly, so it's normal that there are some strange things inside. In the beginning, the immortal Dao experts of the Yang realm and the Yin realm fought over this abandoned multiverse, and both sides suffered heavy losses. In the end, they decided to seal this multiverse and place it at the border between the two realms as the battlefield of origin. The opportunities contained within were to be explored by the origins of the two realms. Whoever obtains them will have the opportunity. This great universe appeared about a few hundred years ago, and it attracted some top great universes and most of the top experts of the two worlds. Fortunately, this abandoned great universe attracted their attention, so not many experts in great universes entered the primitive universe. Tang Feng explained. Lu Ming and the others were enlightened. No wonder only a few hundred beings of the tens of thousands of great universes of the two worlds entered the primitive universe, and only a few of the top 10 great universes of the two worlds came to the primitive universe. It turned out that they were attracted by this great universe. Although countless origins of the two worlds have explored it for hundreds of years, there are still some opportunities that have not been discovered. There are still a lot of experts stationed there, and it has become one of the most tragic origin battlefields. Shueshenzong is in this battlefield. You must be careful when you enter. Let's go. Tang Feng wrapped everyone with his immortal power, broke through the chaos, and hurried toward the origin battlefield. When they approached the origin battlefield, Tang Feng stopped, and the others from Yang Court came to pick them up. The Yang world and the Yin world had a rule that sub-immortals and immortal path beings couldn't easily enter the origin battlefield at the center. Otherwise, it would easily cause a war between the two worlds. There were immortal path beings stationed at the border of the Yang world and the Yin world to prevent the other side from invading. But in fact, they couldn't completely guard against it. The main reason was that the border of the two worlds was too long, and the central area was endless, and most of it was chaotic space. How could they guard against it? Every once in a while, there would be an invasion. For example, the experts of the Yin world lurked in the Yang world and suddenly attacked a certain great universe. Or the experts of the Yang world lurked in the Yin world and attacked a certain great universe of the Yin world. This kind of thing often happened. Otherwise, the primitive universe wouldn't have been attacked by the underworld. The purpose of stationing experts at the border was to prevent a large-scale invasion. This was because the great universes near the border and far away from Universe Ocean were the weakest. They had no ability to resist the invasion of the other party. If I can't kill Shueshenzong, then so be it. I don't have to force myself. The most important thing is to protect myself. At most, I will kill one more immortal. I believe that it will offset some of the conditions. Tang Feng transmitted his voice to Lu Ming and the others. Then he turned around and left with Fei Huang, disappearing into the chaos. Come with us. They were met by a group of armored soldiers. Their auras were unfathomable. Lu Ming guessed that they should be sub-immortal creatures. Lu Ming and the others followed the soldiers and flew towards the origin battlefield in Central Asia. Not long after, a cosmic passage appeared in the chaos. This cosmic passage led to the great universe that floated from the chaos. Go in. According to the agreement signed between the two worlds, those above quasi-immortal are not allowed to enter. Also, this multiverse has been sealed by the immortals of the two worlds. Weapons, talismans, and so on that exceed your cultivation can't be used inside. Origin realm cultivators can only use origin-grade weapons. This is for the fairness of the battlefield to prevent people from killing indiscriminately with true immortal runes. The leading soldier introduced. It seems that the human king's broken sword can't be used. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had lent the human king's broken sword to Tang Feng before, but Tang Feng returned it to him later. Lu Ming originally wanted to give the human king's broken sword to Tang Feng, but he remembered that the human king's broken sword was given to him by the human king. Without the human king's permission, he couldn't give it to others. However, this was better. This was the origin battlefield. If they could use true immortal runes, it wouldn't be the origin battlefield. It would clearly be an immortal level battlefield. Seniors, farewell. Lu Ming and the others cupped their fists and then headed towards the cosmic passage. Not long after, they entered an unfamiliar great universe. Feeling the aura that was completely different from the primitive great universe, everyone felt a little complicated. This was their first time entering another great universe. In this great universe, they didn't feel any suppression. The main thing was that this great universe was completely dilapidated and withered. If the great universe was compared to living beings, then this great universe was dead. But the primitive universe was alive. Only a living great cosmos would suppress intruders from the outside. A dead great cosmos wouldn't suppress foreign life forms. In front of them was a huge city that protected the cosmic passage behind it. This city was in front of the cosmic passage. It was a place for the living beings of the Yang realm to replenish their supplies. It was enveloped by layers of array formations. The living beings of the Yang realm would return to this city to recuperate or replenish their supplies if they were injured or lacked immortal crystals or elixirs. There were heavy troops stationed in the city, and there were layers of array formations. The experts of the underworld would definitely not be able to kill their way here. It was absolutely safe in this city. Once they left the city, it would be a real battlefield. They would face danger at all times. Everyone walked into the city, intending to understand the situation of this battlefield in detail first before making any plans. The city was very lively. Looking around, they were all living beings from different great universes. There were more than 30,000 great universes in the Yang realm, and there were countless origins. Even if only a small number of people entered this battlefield, the number was still shocking. In the entire universe C, the realm with the most living beings was undoubtedly the origin realm. This was because the lifespan of the origin realm was almost infinite and existed with the universe. Although it was easier to cultivate below the origin realm, their lifespan was still limited and they would constantly die of old age. Above that was the subimmortal realm. Not only was it difficult to cultivate, but it was also filled with danger. It was easy to die under the immortal tribulation. As for immortal Tao living beings, needless to say, they were the least in number. The origin realm had an endless lifespan. Many peak origin realm beings didn't dare to undergo the immortal tribulation and stayed at the peak origin realm. Over the countless years, the number of origins in the entire universe C was uncountable. Lu Ming casually scanned with his spiritual sense and discovered more than 100,000 living beings. All of them were origins and many were even peak origin realm beings. And this was only a corner of the city. Peak origin realm beings were equivalent to the master of the heavenly palace. However, there were so many of them here that they were like weeds on the street. It couldn't be helped. This was the origin battlefield. Moreover, it contained great opportunities that attracted countless origins. Chapter 52-23. Moreover, Lu Ming and the others found that most of the creatures were in human form. Perhaps they were not in human form, but they were all in human form. Of course, there were also many who maintained their original appearance. There were all kinds of strange creatures. Lu Ming and the others walked on the street without attracting any attention. On both sides of the street, there were all kinds of small shops selling all kinds of divine pills, divine weapons and materials. Where there were people, there was business. Selling the list of the origins board. I have the list of the Een World's monster genius list and detailed information here. There's also information about some of the top experts in the barren battlefield. Hurry up, hurry up. Suddenly, a shout attracted the attention of Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming and the others immediately became interested. They had just come out of the primitive universe. What did they lack? Information. All kinds of information about the Yang world and the Een world, all kinds of geniuses and supreme experts. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. They came to a stall. The stall owner was a white-haired old man with a shrewd look in his eyes. Senior, give us a copy of the Origins board, the Een World's monster genius list, and some information about the experts in this barren battlefield. The myriad god said. 3,000 immortal crystals. The old man said with a smile. 1,000. Lu Ming directly bargained. This was not a secret. They were all things that were widely spread. 3,000 immortal crystals was too expensive. They were not idiots. 28. 1,200. After a round of bargaining, Lu Ming finally won the bid with 1,500 crystals. 3 jade talismans were in the hands of Lu Ming and the others. 1 jade talisman contained the information about the origins board. The other Jade Talisman recorded the 200 monsters on the Origins board of the Yin world. The other Jade Talisman recorded the information of some of the top experts active in this barren battlefield. Everyone took turns to look. Black Gold Taoist, ranked 221st on the Origins board, good at metal substitutes. Suddenly Lu Ming saw a name. So that old guy is called Black Gold Taoist. He's ranked 221st on the Origins board. No wonder he's so powerful. Lu Ming muttered. In the Supreme Immortal City he had fought Taoist Heijin for many years. In the end, his Genesis techniques had improved and Qiuqiu had caught Taoist Heijin off guard and killed him. Taoist Heijin's battle prowess was extremely strong. Lu Ming's current or future self couldn't do anything to him. At most they could only fight to a draw. It should be noted that in the primitive universe, the other party was still suppressed. If they were in the desolate battlefield, Lu Ming might not be a match for the other party. Of course, if his present and future selves joined forces, things would be different. Lu Ming was confident that he could defeat his opponent. Of course, that was in the past. Now that Lu Ming's soul and body had reached the third tribulation, his battle strength had increased. Lu Ming didn't fear Taoist Heijin at all. His cultivation was still too weak. If he reached the peak of reciprocity, it would not be too difficult for him to kill Taoist Heijin. Very quickly, Lu Ming read through all 3 sets of information and memorized them deeply in his heart. The others also read through them. Shueshenzong was ranked 36th on the Yin world's monster genius list. If he was placed on the Yang world's origin list, he would definitely be ranked in the top 100. His strength was far above Taoist Heijin's. With their current battle prowess, it would be very difficult to kill him. And this was under the premise that Qiuqiu was helping them. Qiuqiu had broken through the peak of reciprocity and its battle prowess had skyrocketed. It was already above Lu Ming. If I want to kill Shueshenzong, I must make a breakthrough. Unfortunately, I only have 10 years. Can I do it? Lu Ming pondered and thought of a countermeasure. There were only 3 ways to increase his battle prowess. The first was to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. Once his cultivation reached the peak of reciprocity, Lu Ming was confident that he wouldn't be weaker than Shueshenzong. At that time, if he joined forces with his future self, Qiuqiu and the others, he was confident that he could kill Shueshenzong. The second way was to increase the grade of his Genesis roots to a top-grade Genesis root, or his mastery of his Genesis arts skyrocketed. But the latter 2 were even more difficult. It was almost impossible to improve in a short time. The conditions given by Yang Ting were not unlimited. They only had 10 years. They had to complete the mission in 10 years. Anya Rose, Di Jianyi, and Ling Heng were also thinking of a countermeasure. Obviously, it was impossible for them to deal with Shueshenzong with their cultivation. Their mission was to accumulate 3,000 battle credits in 10 years and kill the 3 monsters on the monster ranking of the Yin world. Of the 3 monsters, only Shueshenzong was named. As for the other 2, as long as they were monsters on the monster ranking, they could do it. 3,000 battle credits were actually easy to accumulate. Killing ordinary origins of the Yin world would allow one to accumulate battle credits. Killing an early origin of origins would give them 1 battle credit. Killing an intermediate origin of origins would give them 2 battle credits. Killing a late origin of origins would give them 3 battle credits. Killing a peak origin of origins would give them 5 battle credits. There were countless origins in the desolate battlefield. It was not difficult to accumulate 3,000 battle credits. What was really difficult was the 3 monsters Shueshenzong. Kid, it's you. A cold shout interrupted the thoughts of Lu Ming and the others. Danning. Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect to meet Danning here. Obviously, Danning had also come to the desolate battlefield after leaving the primitive universe. Beside Danning, there was a young man with a strong aura that gave people an extremely dangerous feeling. Danning looked at Lu Ming and the others with a cold gaze. His face became a little ferocious as new and old hatred surged in his heart. Back then he was first defeated by Lu Ming and fled in a sorry state. Later he obtained the fragment of the heart of the universe and flew away. Later he learned from the immortal Tao experts of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos that the fragment of the heart of the universe was forcibly drawn back by Tang Feng. Now that the primitive universe's heart of the universe was complete, Tang Feng used it to become an immortal. Hating the house, hating the crow. Every living being in the primitive universe was hated. The fragment of the heart of the universe was his. Those trash in the primitive universe should all die. Kid, you actually came to the desolate battlefield. Good, very good. I will make you die a miserable death. Dan Ying's cold voice sounded. Loser, you think you can do that? Lu Ming responded coldly. Humph, I was suppressed in the primitive universe, but here there is no suppression. How can I lose to you? Dan Ying's killing intent was as cold as a knife. Get out of the way. You are blocking the way. Lu Ming responded coldly. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them. Boom. Next to Dan Ying, the young man burst out with a powerful aura, forming a huge pressure that pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. The pressure was like a mountain. Lu Ming and the others had to circulate their origin source power to counteract the pressure. Danger. Lu Ming felt an extremely dangerous feeling from the young man. It's the brothers Dan Xiong and Dan Ying. Where did those people come from? How did they provoke the brothers? Those two brothers are both monsters. The surrounding people were alarmed. They gathered around and discussed in low voices. Dan Xiong 96th on the origin source list. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 52-24. Shan Xiong was a peerless genius ranked 96th on the origin list. Among the younger generation of the Yang realm, he was ranked in the top 30. His combat strength might be even stronger than Xueshenzong's. No wonder he gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. You want to fight here? The laws of the Yang court state that you're not allowed to kill each other on the battlefield. Do you want to violate the law? Dark Knight Rose said. Who said we're going to fight here? Shan Xiong smiled and retracted his aura, but his eyes were cold. He lowered his voice and said, You can't fight in this city, but once you leave the city, who will know if you die? Will you only think that you died in the hands of the beings of the netherworld? After saying that, Shan Xiong sneered. The rules were dead, but people were alive. Before coming here, Tang Feng had warned them that in the barren battlefield, they not only had to be careful of the beings of the netherworld, but also the experts of the Yang realm. Although the laws of the Yang court stated that they were not allowed to kill each other on the battlefield was chaotic. However, the battlefield was chaotic. If someone was killed, who would know who the killer was? Many people had died on the battlefield in the hands of the beings of the netherworld, but many had died in the hands of the people of the Yang realm. As long as no one saw it, no one would care. A good dog doesn't block the way. Get out of the way. Lu Ming shouted coldly. In any case, the other party wouldn't dare to fight in this city, so why should he give them face? He would talk about it after leaving the city. Humph, you can be arrogant now unless you stay in this city for the rest of your life. Shan Xiong sneered. He wasn't angry, but his eyes were even colder. Scram, can't you hear me, dog? Dandan shouted with an expression that said, Come and hit me if you're unhappy. Shan Xiong was so angry that he almost lost his cool. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Shan Ying gritted his teeth. In the end, the two brothers retreated. You guys, keep an eye on those people in the primitive universe. Once they leave the city, immediately report it. Not far away, Shan Xiong instructed some experts of the Jade Clear universe. Yes. Lu Ming, I think it's better for us to split up. After a while, Dark Knight Rose suddenly spoke. Dark Knight Rose, what do you mean? Dandan was displeased and glared at Dark Knight Rose. The meaning is very simple. You have offended too many people. When the time comes, you will definitely encounter a lot of resistance. You might even be intercepted and killed. This will be very disadvantageous for us to complete the mission. If we split up, our chances of completing the mission will be higher. Dark Knight Rose said. You want to use us as targets to attract the attention of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos so that you can complete your mission. However, do you think that without us, the few of you can kill Xueshenzong? Dandan said with a gloomy expression. You don't have to worry about that. I have my ways. I'm doing this for the sake of the primitive universe. Our most important task is to let the primitive universe return to the Yang court. Dark Knight Rose smiled. Dandan wanted to say more but was stopped by Lu Ming. Miss Rose is right. If we are ambushed by Dan Ying, Dan Xiong and the others, staying together will be dangerous. If we split up, we can reduce the risk and the probability of completing the mission will be higher. Let's do as Miss Rose said. Lu Ming said. To be honest, what Dark Knight Rose said was exactly what he wanted. He wasn't used to working with people he wasn't familiar with. Moreover, he had some secrets that he didn't want others to know. For example, his future self. If they worked together, it was inevitable that they would be exposed. It was better to split up. He knew that Dark Knight Rose was very mysterious and most likely had many secrets that she didn't want them to know. Therefore, even without the matter of Dan Ying and Dan Xiong, they would most likely find other reasons to split up. Although they had the same goal and were in the same camp, they obviously weren't on the same side. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Ming, I hope you guys take care. To be honest, I still think highly of you. If the primitive universe wants to develop, it will need supreme talents like you. So don't die here. Dark Knight Rose smiled faintly, looking extremely beautiful. She then floated away. Di Jinny and Ling Heng followed closely behind and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Humph, you're just afraid of being implicated by us. You made it sound so dignified. Dandan was very unhappy and couldn't calm down. Let's go. We'll observe in the city for a few days before leaving, Lu Ming said. Dark Knight Rose, Di Jinny and Ling Heng didn't stay in the city. Instead, they headed out of the city. As expected, the people from Jade Clear Great Cosmos didn't monitor the three of them. Where are we going now? Di Jinny asked after leaving the city. With our current strength, we definitely can't kill Shueshenzong. So, let's put the mission aside and raise our cultivation first. It won't be too late to complete the mission after we raise our cultivation. This great cosmos is very ancient and contains many opportunities. I'll perform a secret technique to look for it. After Dark Knight Rose said that, a stone plate appeared in her hand. There were 2 needles on the stone plate. They were both made of stone and looked very ancient. Dark Knight Rose quickly formed seals with her hands and runes entered the stone plate. Suddenly, pictures appeared on the stone plate. They were mysterious and ancient. On the stone plate, the 2 needles kept spinning. Let's go in this direction. Dark Knight Rose led the way. There was a flash of curiosity in Emperor Jinny and Ling Heng's eyes. In their eyes, Dark Knight Rose was very mysterious. She knew many unbelievable secrets. They had already investigated Dark Knight Rose's background. She was born on a remote planet in the universe. Her father was only a godly king and was extremely weak. They also knew about Dark Knight Rose's previous life. She had followed Tang Feng's daughter, Tang Qing. Later on, she had died in battle with Tang Qing and reincarnated. However, even with this identity, she shouldn't know so many secrets. They were sure that Dark Knight Rose had a bigger secret that they didn't know about. This was also the reason why they had always followed Dark Knight Rose. By following Dark Knight Rose, they could obtain many opportunities and raise their cultivation constantly. However, they couldn't obtain anything if they cultivated alone. If it hadn't been for Dark Knight Rose, their cultivation definitely wouldn't have been able to raise so quickly. In a huge courtyard in the city. This was the encampment of Sacred Light Great Cosmos in this city. A large number of origins of Sacred Light Great Cosmos were stationed here or recuperating. Sacred Wushuang was also in the courtyard. He had just received news about Lu Ming and the others. The people of the primitive universe have also entered the barren battlefield. They just gave birth to new immortals. According to the rules, they still have to complete a condition before they can re-enter Yang Court. They are in such a hurry to come here. It most likely has something to do with the mission of re-entering Yang Court. Sacred Wushuang quickly deduced the purpose of Lu Ming and the others' visit. Send someone back to the Great Cosmos and ask the immortal Tao Patriarchs what the condition is for the primitive universe to re-enter Yang Court. Sacred Wushuang immediately gave the order. Lu Ming, since you have come to the barren battlefield, stay here forever, Sacred Wushuang muttered. Divine Wushuang muttered, a cold killing intent flashing in his eyes. Chapter 52-25. A few days later. Brother Lu Ming, I've been feeling that someone is watching us these past few days. Bubbles sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming and the rest. They should be from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. Don't worry about them. We'll shake them off once we get out of the city. Lu Ming said. After a few days, they had gathered most of the information and walked out of the city gate. Humph, we're finally out of the city? Very good. Outside the city will be your burial ground. In a pavilion, Shan Xiong put down his wine cup and disappeared with Shan Ying in a flash. After a while, Lu Ming and the rest left the city gate. Let's go. As soon as they left the city gate, they turned into a few streaks of light and rushed into the distance. Bubble used the power of time and space to envelop everyone. They seemed to be traveling through time and space, their figures flickering and disappearing completely. Bubble's cultivation had increased greatly and she had also obtained the inheritance of an immortal Tao expert. The power of time and space was extremely mysterious. It helped everyone to travel quickly and could even erase all traces of aura. Damn it! Shan Xiong and Shan Ying chased for a while before they completely lost track of Lu Ming and the rest. They could only return to the city with gloomy faces and send people to keep an eye on Lu Ming and the rest. After shaking off Shan Ying, Shan Xiong and the rest, Lu Ming began to slow down. At the same time, he restrained his aura and spread out his spiritual consciousness to keep an eye on the surroundings. Once they got out of the city, it was the real battlefield. The battlefield was constantly changing and there were hidden dangers all the time. The universe sea was extremely huge and contained tens of thousands of great cosmoses with countless races. There were all kinds of strange races with unique abilities. They could be assassinated or ambushed at any time. If they didn't pay attention, they wouldn't even know how they died. Lu Ming even used the Feather Arch rune. Dandan also turned into his original form. The runes on his tortoise shell flashed as he constantly sensed the existence of array formations. On the battlefield, the most dangerous thing was actually array formations. Many powerful great cosmoses had many origin source experts. They would choose a good place and then set up a terrifying killing array to wait for the prey. Once one stepped into the killing array, even a top expert on the origin list would die without a doubt. For example, even someone like Shan Xiong would die if he stepped into a supreme source grade formation cast down by several hundred peak reciprocity cultivators. Therefore, when roaming the battlefield, one had to be careful at all times and absolutely not enter those formations by mistake. Lu Ming and the others slowed down and flew slowly. The further away they were from the city, the more dangerous it would be, and the more likely they would encounter people from the underworld. Stop! Suddenly Lu Ming shouted in a low voice. The Pantheon, Dandan, and Bubbles immediately stopped. What did you sense? Dandan asked. His eyes darted around as he observed his surroundings. In the blink of an eye, 36 layers of defensive formations had been set up around him. Nothing? I sensed wrongly. Lu Ming smiled. You rascal, you're always so flustered. You're making me nervous. Dandan heaved a sigh of relief and removed the defensive array formation. The Pantheon of Gods and Bubbles also relaxed. They continued to fly forward. 10 minutes later. Suddenly, whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly attacked. His spear was like lightning as it pierced into the void. The void exploded and a miserable cry was heard. Then a figure appeared, pierced by the spear. He struggled on the spear with a face full of fear. This was a late-stage reciprocity expert. His body seemed to be transparent as he kept twisting, emitting a cold aura. An expert from the underworld. Dandan, the Pantheon of Gods, and Bubbles were shocked. There was actually an expert from the underworld hiding beside them, but they had no idea. If the other party suddenly assassinated them, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Void Race. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly as information about the Void Race appeared in his mind. The Void Race came from the Void Great Cosmos. They were ranked 9th among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the underworld. This was a top great cosmos which showed how terrifying the Void Race was. In the Void they could merge with the Void and mainly assassinate people. The various races in the Yang realm were very fearful of the Void Race. The experts of the Void Race could often sneak into the territory of the Yang realm and assassinate the experts of the Yang realm. It was impossible to guard against. Once targeted by the Void Race on the battlefield, it was very dangerous. The expressions of the Pantheon of Gods, Dandan, and Bubbles were a little ugly. They did not expect to be targeted by the Void Race as soon as they arrived on the battlefield. How did you find me? The expert of the Void Race was not dead yet. He kept struggling and making disbelieving sounds. Among Lu Ming and the others, Lu Ming's cultivation was the highest, but he was only at the late-stage reciprocity realm, the same as him. Among those at the same level, there were not many in the entire cosmic sea who could discover him before he made a move. Sorry, there's no need to explain to you, Lu Ming said coldly. With a shake of his spear, a terrifying power erupted. The expert of the Void Race screamed as his body and soul were destroyed. Lu Ming, you discovered him the first time you stopped? Dandan asked. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. Strictly speaking, it was his future self who had discovered him. The soul of his future self was extremely powerful, even stronger than his current self's soul. Moreover, he had cultivated various soul secret techniques, so his spiritual senses were extremely sharp. Not long after the Void Race targeted them, they were discovered by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming stopped for the first time and did not make a move because he was not confident that he could kill him in one strike. The Void Race merged with the Void and came and went like lightning. If he could not kill them in one strike, it would be difficult to kill them. Therefore, Lu Ming pretended that he had sensed wrongly. His goal was to numb the opponent and lower his guard. Then he would suddenly make a move and hit the target. You kid, you even lied to us. Dandan pursed his lips. If I didn't lie to you, how would I kill the enemy? Lu Ming smiled. At this moment, a jade flew out of Lu Ming's body and absorbed a wisp of black light. A number appeared on the jade, 3 battle merits. This jade was given to each of them by the experts of Yang Court before they entered the battlefield. As long as they killed someone from the netherworld, the jade would absorb a wisp of the opponent's soul imprint and then calculate the corresponding battle merits. Early Stage Origin Realm, 1 battle merit, Mid Stage Origin Realm, 2 battle merits, and Late Stage Origin Realm, 3 battle merits. As for Peak Origin Realm, 5 battle merits. The experts of the Void race were rewarded with 3 battle merits. Of course, some of the more famous geniuses of the netherworld or some of the more famous experts would be rewarded with more battle merits. These experts were recorded in the Jade. Once they were killed, the corresponding rewards would be given. How stingy. A late-stage Origin Realm expert is only rewarded with 3 battle merits. Dandan pursed his lips. In Yang Court, battle merits were good things and had endless magical uses. It was similar to the merit points that many large factions obtained. Battle merits could be exchanged for some treasures in Yang Court. Battle merits were divided into individual battle merits and universe battle merits. Individual battle merits were the battle merits obtained by an individual. Universe battle merits were the total battle merits of all the creatures in the entire universe. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.